I think I had heard stories about this before, maybe, where like the opponent would let himself get pinned for their opponent, but I didn't want to just hand James the win like that. I wanted to at least make him push himself for it.
And Giuseppe, we wanted to surprise you this morning and bring in James's mom, Lisa, to personally thank you for this moment. Lisa, welcome.
What I saw was a young man with grace. Grace is the first word that comes to mind. And I think that that's what student athletes have to project at all times. And I saw compassion, I saw maturity, inclusion, but I also saw a challenge. And I appreciated very much that Giuseppe challenged James appropriately and verbally prompted him. Not everyone knows how to do that, especially somebody that doesn't know James. And Giuseppe is the kind of person that, as a special needs mom, you want in your child's life. You know, you want this kind of person, you want this kind of peer to, demonstrate this kind of maturity with your child. So for Giuseppe, I will forever be grateful for this amazing moment in James's life.
People here right now are in high school and going into college. And what was like your biggest difference from going from high school to college? Like, what did your drive change? Did it stay the same? Did your team help you? Like, what was your biggest drive?
It's when in high school, you see a few good players, there's good players throughout the state, but, a lot of times, especially if you're playing in college, you're the best player on your team in high school, chances are, or one of the best. When you get to college, everyone's good. Everyone was the guy or the girl in their program. So you got to prove yourself every day.
So how did some of the lessons and experiences that you had at Daniel Hand prepare you for major college football in the SEC?
I would definitely say that being able to handle adversity has helped me, along the way. And I look back, and I was talking to John the other day, my senior season, we were supposed to be one of the top teams in the state in football, and we ended up 4-6, which, it's not ideally how we, pictured our senior season ending, but it really taught me, you got to be able to be a leader through adversity too. It's easy to be, a captain and a leader when things are going well, when you guys are, winning games and winning state titles. But, when you're losing and things are going wrong, that's almost more important. That's a way to stick around for a while, because if you're, everyone wants you when you're talented, but, if you're going to, treat people like a jerk and, kind of, be an airhead, eventually, when your talent runs out, people aren't going to want you around anymore.
That it's putting yourself in the place of the other person in the sport, whether it's a younger member of your team or your opponent or an opposing coach or the fans, and kind of treating them the way that you would want to be treated if you were in their position.
I think that sometimes as teenagers and at these sporting events, you can get really fired up, which is a good thing. But sometimes it can get to be a little bit rowdy, and you might lose sight of what you're saying or what you're doing. Or how you're behaving affects the other team. So I think it's important to stay humble when you win and congratulatory when you lose. And so when, things get too crazy, or, you hear a teammate say something that isn't that nice, like maybe in the locker rooms, you just want to gently remind them that the words do matter, as it said in the PSA, and that because chances are it's not intentional. So you just want to be kind and set a good example of how we should be treating other teams.
Understanding that you have something to overcome, and overcoming that with your peers, using your peers as someone to bring you up and lift up your spirits, and lifting up other spirits is essential. And just realizing that sports and interacting with our peers is something that is a gift.
At first, as anyone would expect, it was awful. It was a terrible feeling. But as I kind of came to terms with it, and I took advantage of the time I had to put work into myself and into my craft, I would say that COVID has actually benefited me and many other student athletes around by giving us just time to process these things and to get better as athletes and as people.
Even prior to East Catholic, I had an elementary school gym teacher, Tom Bowler, who was instrumental in helping me kind of understand what sportsmanship was. We often would do after school programs where we'd have different schools, different elementary schools from town in Rockville and in Vernon, Connecticut, come over and play kickball. And I remember a kid on the other team made an error, maybe when I was kicking the ball, and I didn't, I kind of exulted in that error. And Mr. Bowler sat me down for the rest of the kickball game and taught me a valuable lesson. I was embarrassed and ashamed, something I never forgot.
It's not about your athletic ability. It's not about how talented you are or how many points you score, how many rebounds you get. It's about your character and who you are as a person.
How have the lessons that Coach Oriema and the UConn women's basketball program, how have those lessons really affected you in just your everyday life now?
A lot of the things you learn when you're on a team and when your coaches with things that they're doing, it really translates. And so that's something I've realized of, like, whether it's how to work with people that you might not get along with that much, or how to work as a team, or how to be resilient and persistent. That's something that you learn so much through athletics. And that's not special to UConn. I think you can learn that whether it's your middle school team, high school team, in college. You learn a lot of life skills. Even if I might feel overwhelmed or I might not know exactly what I'm doing, you know how to figure it out. You know how to push through. You know how to kind of get to the end goal.
If it weren't for knee injuries, you'd probably still be playing the sport that has really defined much of your life. Was it hard to make that transition with the knee injuries and do something different when maybe your heart was still in it, but your body wasn't cooperating? And how did you commit to being the best you can be in your new role professionally?
It was really tough, and I really struggled with my identity. For me, it showed me that, even when I'm in a time where I'm totally unsure, making a huge life change, the impact that I made when I was a player and when I was playing for the Connecticut Sun, that led to me being where I am now. Even though you're going to come to points in your life where it's really tough and there's a change and it's new and you're unsure, but if you lay that groundwork when you're growing up and you're getting older, you make those connections, you have those relationships, it 100% will help you in the long